Did you know that 80% of people remember stories better than facts? In fact, studies show that when you hear a story, you're 22 times more likely to remember it. That's because stories connect with us on a deeper level, tapping into emotions and creating memories. But here's the thing, it's not just the plot that makes a story unforgettable, it's the characters. Think about your favorite movie or book. Chances are, it's the characters who made it stick in your mind. Whether it's Harry Potter's journey of self-discovery or the way Tony Stark evolves into Iron Man, strong characters are what keep us hooked. But how do you create characters that people can't forget? In this guide, we'll dive into the secrets of building unforgettable characters that stand out and stay with your audience. From giving them the right flaws to crafting deep relationships, we'll break down what makes characters truly memorable. Ready to bring your characters to life? Let's get started. Chapter 1: The Art of Flaws. Why imperfect characters stick. When we think of unforgettable characters, we often picture someone flawed, someone real. Flaws are what make characters interesting and relatable. If your character is perfect, they might feel more like a superhero than a person. Imperfections allow the audience to connect emotionally. Think of Walter White from Breaking Bad. His transformation from a mild-mannered teacher to a ruthless drug lord is driven by his internal struggles and moral flaws. These imperfections make him fascinating, not just another villain. In fact, a study by the University of Pennsylvania found that people relate better to characters who face moral dilemmas, as it mirrors their own life choices. Flaws make characters human, and humanity is what resonates. A perfectly good character might be admired, but rarely remembered. It's the battle between good and bad inside him that leaves a lasting impression. Don't be afraid to show your character's vulnerability or make them wrestle with their mistakes. This is what makes them feel alive. People love rooting for underdogs because we see ourselves in their struggles. By giving your character flaws, you invite the audience to join them on their journey of growth. It also opens the door for deeper storytelling. When characters face their flaws head-on, it gives them a chance to change. This change is often what drives the emotional arc of your story. Chapter 2: The Power of Backstory. Creating depth that hooks. Every character has a history, whether it's revealed to the audience or not. Backstory gives characters depth. Without it, they feel flat. Imagine a character with no history. Who are they? Where did they come from? Why do they act the way they do? Providing hints of a rich backstory can make your character feel like they've lived 1,000 lives before the story even starts. In The Lord of the Rings, characters like Aragorn and Gandalf are shaped by their past. We don't know all the details at first, but the hints we get are enough to make them feel like they belong to a bigger world. This backstory doesn't need to be laid out all at once. In fact, the best backstories are often revealed slowly, in pieces. That's the key to keeping your audience hooked. They want to learn more about the character's past without feeling like they're reading a biography. By incorporating these little nuggets of history, you make your character more intriguing. Studies show that the more we know about a character's past, the more invested we become in their future. It's like a mystery that we're excited to solve. Each clue you drop about their backstory should spark curiosity. People love unraveling the layers of a character, piece by piece. Chapter 3: The Inner Battle. Crafting conflict that fuels character growth. Conflict is at the heart of every great story. But it's not just external conflict that drives character growth. The most powerful conflict often happens inside the character. Think of Harry Potter, who faces not just Voldemort, but his own fears and insecurities. His internal battles, fear of failure, questions about his destiny, shape his journey far more than any villain ever could. Studies show that the most compelling characters are those who wrestle with their own demons. This kind of conflict makes a character feel real. We all have inner struggles, and when we see a character overcome theirs, we cheer for them. This struggle should change the character. When they conquer their inner battle, the audience can see real growth, which is incredibly satisfying. Your character's internal conflict could stem from a moral dilemma, a deep fear, or a past trauma they're trying to outrun. Whatever it is, it should affect their decisions and actions. The key is to make the conflict personal and relatable. When the audience sees how a character's inner world influences their choices, they become more invested in that character's journey. If you're enjoying these character building tips, don't forget to subscribe for more storytelling secrets. Let's dive deeper into the world of unforgettable characters. Chapter 4: Signature Traits: How to make your character irreplaceable. What makes a character unforgettable? It's often their unique traits, the little quirks that set them apart. Think of Sherlock Holmes. He's not just a brilliant detective, he's obsessive, peculiar, and occasionally socially awkward. These traits don't just make him memorable, they make him irreplaceable. Creating signature traits is about giving your character something distinct, something that stays with the audience. Maybe your character always taps their fingers when nervous, or they have a habit of quoting obscure poets. These details make your character stand out in a sea of other characters. According to a study by Yale University, characters with distinctive behaviors or speech patterns are easier for audiences to remember. It's important to make these traits consistent, but not overdone. You don't want your character to be a one-trick pony. Instead, let their traits evolve as the story progresses. A character who starts off socially awkward might become more confident as they face challenges. This creates an arc that feels satisfying, but it also keeps the traits fresh and intriguing. Chapter 5: The Chemistry Factor: How Characters Interact to Spark Magic. Great characters don't exist in a vacuum. Their relationships with others play a huge role in defining who they are. Take the Hunger Games, for example. Katniss's relationship with Peter adds layers to her character. Their bond doesn't just drive the plot, it also reveals Katniss's fears, desires, and sense of loyalty. This chemistry makes the story more engaging. People love watching characters interact. It's often in these moments that we learn the most about them. Whether they're forming alliances, dealing with enemies, or sharing intimate moments, relationships show us different sides of a character. In fact, a study from the University of California found that characters with strong relational dynamics are more emotionally engaging for audiences. When crafting relationships, make sure each one serves a purpose. Every interaction should reveal something new about the characters involved. Even antagonistic relationships can offer deep insights. A villain doesn't have to be a one-dimensional bad guy. The dynamic with the hero can offer rich layers to their personality. Chapter 6: From Page to Screen: Breathing life into your characters. You've crafted the perfect character, but how do you bring him to life on screen? Whether in a film, video, or podcast, the performance is what makes or breaks a character. A lot of what makes a character unforgettable is how they're portrayed. In Game of Thrones, Tyrion Lannister is a character on paper, but it's Peter Dinklage's performance that adds layers of wit, charm, and vulnerability. When adapting characters from page to screen, remember that dialogue alone doesn't define them. Body language, tone, and facial expressions all contribute to their depth. A study from the University of Oxford found that non-verbal cues often convey more emotion than words. Pay attention to how a character moves, reacts, and interacts physically. These details help audiences connect with them in a more visceral way. A character might have a brilliant backstory, flaws, and quirks, but if they're not portrayed in a way that feels authentic, they'll fall flat. Work with your actors to ensure they understand the character's inner world. The best performances come from understanding not just what the character does, but why they do it. This level of detail is what makes a character truly unforgettable. Enjoying these tips on character creation? Make sure you subscribe to keep getting more storytelling secrets straight to your inbox.